All right, welcome back to our channel. In this video, we hope to give you information about visiting Yellowstone in the fall if you're trying to make up your mind, or if you're already booked a trip to go to Yellowstone in the fall, we want to get you excited for it because we love visiting Yellowstone in the fall. We're Matt and Cheryl with We're in the Rockies, and our channel, we really try to help you have a great vacation out west. A couple years back, my dad visited Yellowstone in the fall, and he was up at Mammoth, which is at the north end of the park. Mammoth is full of elk. There are so many elk there, they just wander the town.
They really have taken over the years, yes.
Yeah. During September, the elk are in the rut, which is the mating season, and the big bull elk...
They're showing off for the ladies.
Yeah, they're showing off for the ladies. They're trying to establish their dominance. They really go after the cars that drive by. You cannot get too close to the elk. There's rangers all over the place to try to keep people away from getting too close to the elk. And even as you're just driving by, elk will charge your car and scratch it up and ding it up and stuff like that. And
so, are you trying to convince people to go in the fall? I think you're scaring them. Well, we like going in September. Maybe we're trying to scare people away.
Yeah, that's right.
We've never had our car rammed.
But it's kind of a fun thing actually just to sit there and watch them. They'll fight. Sometimes the bull elk will fight and stuff. And so my dad was sitting there watching them, and the ranger came up to him and said, "I'm giving you a 2." And I guess he rated him a 2 because of his behavior. I guess his behavior was a 2 out of 10 because he was too close to the elk, which is, we've just laughed about that for years. So kind of a funny story. So in this video, we want to give you 7 things to know about visiting Yellowstone in the fall.
The first is the weather. Think cool, crisp, heavenly mountain air. It really is nice. You know, the mornings and the evenings are chilly, like possibly into the 30s. But during the day, you're getting 50s and 60s, which is just so nice to be able to walk around on those boardwalks that already kind of have some heat coming off of them. So nice. One thing to be aware of is that we really don't know when winter ends and when it begins. And so when you're traveling in the fall to Yellowstone, it's open until November 1st. But it could close earlier. If you're going the last couple weeks of October, it's kind of a gamble. So I would say, unless Yellowstone is a driving distance and easy for you to get to, I definitely would not plan like this once-in-a-lifetime trip the last 2 weeks in October. I think you're probably pretty safe up to October 15th, but after that, it could snow. And if it does, they do have to close a large portion of the park down.
Yep, I had a friend go there mid-October one year. First day of her trip, they had a huge snowstorm, shut the park down, her trip was over. So be aware of that. Okay, the second thing to know is about the wildlife. So spring is kind of a nice time to visit because the babies are being born, and that's really pretty cool.
They're so cute.
Yeah,
and they're so tiny.
But you might get there before you see a lot of wildlife, like the bears coming out of their dens and stuff like that. In the summer, the bison get in the rut, so that's their mating season in the summer, and they'll be rolling around in the dirt and fighting sometimes. But in the fall, as I mentioned earlier, that's when the elk are in their mating season. And so they put on quite a show for visitors. And then all of the animals are still out and about, including the bears. It's fall, the weather, the days are not as warm, so they really, I think, are more active during the day than what you see in the middle of the summer. Summer, you kind of need to get them in the early morning and in the evening. But in the fall, they're still pretty active during the day, kind of getting ready for winter, so it's great. A lot of wildlife to see.
Next, let's talk about crowds. Word is getting out that September is a fantastic time to visit Yellowstone. And it really is really kind of a golden month. And
yeah, we really shouldn't be telling you this, but
but I work full time as a teacher now. We have kids in school, so we don't get to go in September anymore.
And most people are limited by the school schedule anyway. There's always going to be that. So.
But if you can go in September, it is a fantastic time to go. Something to know about this time of life is that COVID has really upped the crowds at these national parks, and Yellowstone has been kind of going bananas. There's been a lot of people going to Yellowstone. Now, the crowds do start to diminish after Labor Day. But of course, the further into September you go, the colder weather you're going to have. But it is a great time to go. And October is virtually empty, probably because people don't want to risk those early snowstorms.
Yep. Okay, the fourth thing is a little bit about the geysers. Just kind of wanted to touch on this a little bit. So, geysers are always changing. A lot of their activity is dependent upon the amount of runoff water that they get. I'm not sure if I've read anything about whether they're more or less active in the winter or in the fall. There are predictable geysers that they'll post a schedule for. There's like 6 of them that you can try to spot there. But what I wanted to mention here is that because the air is cooler in the fall, there's a lot of steam coming up off of those geysers. I mean, it looks like another world. Yellowstone does anyway, but I think even more so in the fall. It just looks like a whole other world. We were there one time at the Grand Prismatic Spring in September, and just driving to the spring, just mist and steam all over the ground. Looked just so cool. And then when we got to the spring, there was a lot of steam coming up, which made it a little bit difficult to see the spring from right next to it. But as we went to the overlook, it was fantastic. It was really cool. So.
Hiking. One of the nice things about hiking in the fall at Yellowstone is that the trails aren't muddy. If you go earlier in the spring, you're dealing with snow melt and it's just kind of a sloggy mess. But in the fall, they're still in great condition. So what's really nice, the bugs are starting to calm down a little bit. Bring your insect repellent to Yellowstone, but the bugs are calming down a little bit. And, of course, as always, bring your bear spray if you are doing any sort of backcountry in Yellowstone, because the bears are still very active in the fall. So make sure you have your bear spray with you.
Okay, the sixth thing is just a note on the campgrounds. So most of the campgrounds start to shut down mid-September. Again, the crowds are really diminishing. The nights are getting quite cold. So they start to shut down mid-September, but there are a few that stay open into October. Those are Madison Campground, which is a fairly big one that doesn't take reservations. There's Lewis Campground on the south end of the park. Not that big, I don't think, but that one stays open a little later. And then Slough Creek, which is up in Lamar Valley, up at the top of the park. Those ones do stay open into October. Slough Creek has some first come, first serve, and this year, I believe, started opening some of their sites up to an online reservation system. So we'll put a link here to their campgrounds. The campgrounds actually got a lot more complicated this year as they moved some to reservation system, but not others. And some were already on a reservation system, and so recreation.gov handles some of those. Another site handles other of those. It's a little bit confusing. So we'll put a link to that here in the description.
All right. Number 7, lodging. Most of the lodges shut down as well mid to late October. Now, something interesting about Yellowstone is there are a couple of lodges that stay open year-round. You've got one on the west side, which is the Old Faithful Snow Lodge. And then up in the north, you've got Mammoth. So those are your 2 options after mid-October.
Yeah, the park shuts down completely November 1st, no matter what. Those 2 places, Mammoth and the Old Faithful Snow Lodge, they reopen in mid-December. The reason why is for the whole month of November and early December, they are allowing the snow to accumulate on the roads. They actually want the snow to accumulate, and then it just becomes a snowmobile park or a snow coach park after that. There's a road on the north end that goes through Lamar Valley and out through Mammoth. That one they plow all year round, but all the other roads they let snow over, and then it just becomes a snowmobile park during the winter. Now, I've done a whole other video on when to visit Yellowstone, like what is the best time to visit Yellowstone. And so I take you through the whole year, what the park is like each season of the year. So check that out. We'll put a card up here somewhere at the top. Okay, we hope you got something out of this. If you liked it, please click that little thumbs up button. It helps us spread it. Click subscribe, notification bell to get the new uploads. We really just appreciate so much all of your support.
Thanks for watching.